everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful Thursday this morning. So this is going to be video one, part one for the final exam series. So in these videos, you're going to be listening to all the answers to the questions that are going to be asked on the final exam. And hopefully these videos are going to be helpful for anybody who might be watching and needing extra help for studying. So let's get started. So to answer question one, which is list and describe the 3 parts of the writing workshop, include in each part what the teacher does, and also how would you plan for the mini lessons. So first we're going to start off by listing all the parts, which I already done for you guys. So first part in this, so unlike a reading workshop where first and foremost in reading workshops it's you do like a pre-reading activity, a during reading activity, and then an after reading activity. And the reading workshops is more small group time. A writing workshop is actually more of an inclusive all class get together. Where the teacher models what the students should do. The students then take their turn and try it on their own. And then obviously when they're done, then they share and the teacher and students discuss what they like. And teacher may be doing some teacher conferencing. But again, that's kind of just something I wanted to point out, the difference between a reading workshop and a writing workshop. It took me a minute to figure it out that there was actually a difference. I thought they were actually the same. Turns out they're not so much very similar per se, except maybe the mini lesson where the teacher focuses on a skill for the students writing, whereas pre-reading activities, the teacher focuses on a skill for when the students are reading. So the first part is mini lesson, which in this case the teacher gives tips or strategies to her students, and the students or the writers, as you'll probably hear them being referred to as, are trying it out on their own. So what might this look like? You're probably wondering. So the teacher might be focusing on a strategy where it's as simple as, let's say it's capitalization at the beginning of each sentence. So the teacher wants the students to focus on capitalizing at the start of every sentence. So the students will be focusing on that. So that's the strategy, and the strategy could be like, the teacher might say, okay, so today's writing strategy that we'll be focusing on is capitalization, because capitalization is very important, students. At the beginning of every sentence, your first word needs to be capitalized. So the teacher will then model it. So let's say, for argument's sake, the example is, example of the strategy is that's a terrible I love movies. I know it's a very short, simple sentence, but just for the sake of this example. So obviously the teacher writes out her sentence, and then she's going to emphasize, or in this case I would emphasize on my capital letter at the beginning of my sentence. So I would probably highlight it or have the student see it. Like, do you see how the I is a capitalized I and not a lowercase I, because it is located at the beginning of the sentence. So, and then the teacher might then write a giant paragraph, or depending on the grade. So let's say this is for a kindergarten class. So she writes like 2 to 3 sentences. And she emphasizes on the strategy, all sentences need to be capitalized at the very beginning. So, and this might mean in some cases for the teachers that, hey, what normally is capitalized, like names or pronoun or proper nouns or things like that, those might not be capitalized. And that's okay, especially in a kindergarten class where we're only focusing on the strategy, capitalize words at the beginning of the sentence. So, and that's okay. And I've seen another video in class where the teacher was, what was it? What was her strategy? I think her strategy, I think they were farther ahead. This is more like basic, but her class was focusing on, I think just, they were focusing on dialogue, I believe. Or, I think it was dialogue. Let's go with they were focusing on dialogue. I watched this video in class and by myself, and I still can't remember what it is they were emphasizing on. Or maybe it was planning. Anyways, let's say the teacher is focusing on dialogue. So she had her students emphasize no, it was planning. So, but I'm sorry. I'm probably confusing you all. When there's a strategy, emphasize on it, I think is what I'm trying to say. Whether it's as simple as, hey, students, you're going to be capitalizing at the beginning of every sentence, or, hey, students, we are now going to be focusing on making sure our sentences end with a punctuation mark. All right? That is kind of what you'll be doing in your mini lessons. And the mini lessons can vary. Like, you can, let's say, my brain is not good this morning. I'm sorry. So forgive me if I'm pausing too long. But the mini lessons, just to reemphasize, you're focusing on a strategy and you're having the students try it out for themselves. So this might mean when you're writing out a sentence, maybe using a whiteboard or something, maybe purposely write because we want to make sure that the students get a chance to try it too. Have them try it first in a big group setting, so you, the teacher, can model it for them before sending them off on their own. So this might look like, okay, students, here's a sentence that I write out. So let's say, Julian is going to the movies with his mom. And Julian's not capitalized. That's when you can have the students try it out. Okay, which word needs to have a capitalized letter in the sentence? And hopefully they were paying attention to the strategy. They will point out that Julian needs to be capitalized because he is the first word, or that word is the first word in the sentence, which means his letter needs to be capitalized at the beginning of the sentence. So that's kind of what a mini lesson is supposed to do. Sorry for my rambling, but that's basically what a mini lesson is. It's to emphasize on a tip or a strategy and giving the students a chance to try it with the whole class together. So next up we have independent writing. So independent writing is a little more easier. Let me just bring that closer. So here's independent writing. So this is where the writers get to work on their own pieces of work, and the teacher's just there to help and guide. So this is where you'll probably see teacher conferences, or the teacher walking around the room. So that's kind of what the teacher's doing. So this is after your mini lesson. You're having the students then write their own piece for their story or their project or whatever piece that they might be working on or whatever their topic is about. So let's say the topic that we discussed in the mini lesson was something that you love to do. So like the teacher says, I love going to the movies. So a student might say, you know what, I love going to the park. And obviously the students then have to write 2 to 3 sentences on why they like going to the park. And this is where the teacher then is making sure that the students are applying the strategy to their own writing. So this is where teacher conferencing comes, where the teacher then looks over, okay, Sophia, let's just check on your work for today. And that's where the teacher's going to point out whether or not the sentences that Sophia was writing, the strategy is being utilized. So, and in this case, obviously, don't say, oh, you're incorrect. This is where you can help them and say, okay, so I noticed that in some of your sentences, we're missing capitalized words. Where in the sentence does a capitalized word need to be, and which letter needs to be capitalized? And then have them point and edit their own paper with you helping and guiding them. That way it's not like you're being a dictator and marking their paper going, okay, that's wrong, now go start over. Have them notice their mistakes and edit it on their own with you as the teacher guiding them. So this is kind of writing on their own, and you're not expecting pure perfection, but this is a good learning opportunity and teaching opportunity for you and the student. If you notice, hey, you know what, I don't think you understood the strategy, so let me just re-emphasize what the strategy is. Because in some cases, maybe the students don't remember what the strategy is, or they're confused on the strategy. So this is the chance for the teacher to help and guide and give teaching conferences. So that's independent writing. So that's the second part in the writing workshop. And then last but not least, share. So share is easy. So this is where the writers are going to be sharing their work, and the teacher and students are just listening. And when this can be done one of 2 ways, or multiple ways actually, but there's 2 ways that I feel is very effective. One is just one-on-one, where the teacher might be sitting somewhere in the classroom, like on a carpet or in like the reading corner or something. And this is where obviously the teacher will say, when you're done with your writing, you're going to come to me and you're going to share your work out loud with me, just so I can hear your story. And this is a perfect chance, one, to connect with your students. They're going to love it when you listen to their writing and compliment them on their writing. Forgive me, sorry. 2, this is where you can also physically see if they can catch their mistakes, if there are mistakes in their writing. And 3, obviously, making sure that they're pointing out the strategies. So this could either be done one-on-one, or I actually saw in one of the videos on Blackboard an author's chair, where the student is sharing what they wrote to the entire class and the teacher, and they're just listening. The one in the video is obviously I think was a project the students were doing, and they finished it because the little girl that was in the author's chair was talking about her book and what she wrote, and all the pictures that were in the story. So, but she was sharing her work, her written work, with the teacher and her fellow students listening. So that is the last part in the writing workshop. And then just to kind of answer the last question, how would you plan for the mini lessons? So the way I would plan for my mini lessons, sorry, I'm not writing it down. Actually, I probably could, because there's multiple ways that you can plan your mini lessons. For me, write out a checklist for you guys. Because I like checklists, and checklists help me out. So kind of what are you going to be expecting, or what you should be expecting in a writing mini lesson. So writing mini lesson. Sorry, I can see you guys through my camera, so forgive me if I'm not facing you. Not trying to be rude. So in a writing mini lesson, at least in my writing mini lesson 1, I want to make sure that I picked a standard or a skill that I want the students to be focusing on for that day. So this might be like a standard on punctuation or grammar or simple or learning about dialogue. So one thing I definitely want to make sure that I'm doing is I'm emphasizing a standard or skill that the students need to be working on. If this means that, hey, you know what, I gotta reteach something because I'm noticing students are not understanding it very well like I thought they were, then that's also when you need to do some reteaching. So standard or skill. I would then do, with my mini lesson, I think I would write out what I would like the students to be doing, or what I'm expecting students to do, so expectations. So there's definitely going to be some expectations that I would like the students to do. So this might be meaning students are expected, or this could also be like your objectives. The objective of the lesson is, or I expect students to be able to put a period at the end of a sentence, or to have some sort of punctuation mark at the end of a sentence to emphasize that sentence, or students are going to be able to capitalize their sentences at the beginning of each sentence, or students are going to be able to incorporate dialogue into their written work. As long as we have an expectation of what we're expecting students to do, that's perfect. Because then that gives students something to focus on when they're writing, and not have to really worry about like multiple other stuff. So one expectation or one thing that you want students to really be focusing on, or to have an objective over. Then the next thing I'll probably be doing with my students is we're gonna pick a topic together. So topic / theme, because mini lessons are all about collaborating with your students. So this is a all class thing, and the students aren't really writing anything yet. They're watching you. This is a model a model technique that the students is going to watch the teacher, and what the teacher is expecting of the students. So in this case, just to make it fun for the students, I want them to be picking the topic or the theme. So this is I'm going to put student emphasis, students pick. Because one, I believe if the students pick, it's much more interesting that way. So, and like obviously, like I'll help them out. Like, what should our topic or theme be today? Should our topic be about something that we like, or should it be a place that we're going to visit one day? Or maybe we can talk about our favorite color. So there's multiple things that you can do with picking a topic and theme. And then obviously we got to brainstorm what's going to be written out. So one of the things that I actually like the way the teachers that we've watched on the videos so far is they do like a drawing brainstorm where they're brainstorming their topic or their idea. So
I really like that. I actually didn't grow up with that. I grew up with, here's a thought bubble and here's a web and stuff, and I always hated that. Or here's a T-chart and you're gonna write on one side all the stuff you want to talk about, and then the other side is all the details with it. So that's not really fun, especially at for students who are they struggle with writing, because I was definitely one of those students who struggled with writing, and I still do to this day, but I'm definitely getting better. That's obviously the whole point of this, is to get better. So when I teach students, they will obviously have better skills than probably what I did growing up. But the brainstorming aspect that I really enjoyed watching in the videos is the students were drawing out pictures of what they were going to talk about. And the teacher modeled this first. So she said, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw out this funny story. So here's me, and I'm laying down in my bed, and she even like labeled pictures, like, okay, here's the bed, and she wrote out what each of the characters are saying in her short story. And she even put in her pictures like little speech bubbles in her pictures to show, hey, this character is speaking. And her class was focusing mostly on dialogue, I think, but she was using speech bubbles to make it a little more fun and interesting. I don't think they were solely focusing on like quotation marks per se, just on the fact, hey, this is what it looks like when somebody's speaking. But like they were brainstorming out in pictures what they were going to be writing, and she even had them do it on their paper. Okay, draw out what you're going to be writing, and then after you're going to write your sentences. So that's kind of something that I would definitely do for my students, because one, I think students, at least at this age, they love to draw instead of writing. And it's probably easier for them to visualize what they're going to be writing than just writing out words and going, okay, this is my sentence and here's my plan and blah blah blah. So that's definitely brainstorming. And then obviously, I think the last thing that I would do in my mini lesson is model the skill set. So that would be coming back to our standard here. So we're tying in, our standard and skill to showing what we want our students to be doing. So if that means I want my students to be focusing on capitalization at the beginning of each of their sentences, then that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to make sure I'm writing each beginning word with a capital letter and maybe I'll go one step further and highlight, okay, here's a capital letter at the beginning of my sentence. And I'll even have the students do it too, like, okay, highlight the capitalized letter in the next sentence. Where is my capitalization going to go? And again, what I stated earlier, I think when explaining the writing workshop, is this is a chance for us to make sure the students are paying attention and they understand what we're asking of them before we send them off and say, here you go, be free, little birdies. So we want to make sure that, hey, if they see me modeling, they should be able to do it as well. And if that means, hey, you know what? Point out a punctuation mark. Then they should be able to point out a punctuation mark in the mini lesson. Or be able to identify where a capitalized letter in a sentence needs to be at. But other than that, that's kind of how I would do my writing mini lesson. Sorry, my board is way over there. I hope this answers the questions. I hope I gave you some idea of what I would do in the classroom as well. Other than that, that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully this video was helpful, and I will see you in the next video for the final exam question part 2. Other than that, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.